Welcome back to Definitely Not Definitive. I'm Ken.
And I'm Bethany.
And we're just a couple destined to be in love that loves reacting to some Destiny.
Yeah, we do.
So we checked out some of the seasonal content, and we checked out Season of the Forge. And it wasn't like the cutscenes weren't as good as other seasons that we've checked out. And so like we're doing these all now as like more of a explanation from My Name is Byth. He's going to go over like the lore of it and kind of like the story of it. And then we're going to go into the cutscenes for Shadowkeep. So that one's going to be a little bit more comprehensive, kind of more what we're used to. So this is something that was recommended to us, and I thought it was a good idea. And we're going to check this out. And because it's Destiny,
we have a drink.
Yeah.
It is the Awoken Amethyst to, accompany your lore video.
Yeah.
Lore video. Cheers.
Cheers. Our official Destiny drink. Drink with all our Destiny reactions. If you want all of our Destiny reactions, check out the description of this video. We have a playlist there for you. All right. Ready to do this?
Smooth. Very smooth. Nice.
I don't know if that was smooth.
It was infomercial.
No, nobody's ever confused me. No one's ever confused me with someone being smooth. I guess that works. See? Not smooth. Ready?
Ready.
Back in the tower, however, a new face emerged. His name was unknown, and he preferred to go by a moniker that everyone could remember. They called him the Drifter, and he offered Guardians a new competitive arena called Gambit, which not only allowed them to fight the enemies of humanity, but also forced them to exploit the darker powers so that they might be able to learn how to best bend those powers of darkness to their will. These games would continue for the foreseeable future, in spite of the fact that the Vanguard and other elements such as the Praxic Order would not officially endorse them. All of this behind the scenes was set up by a most infamous figure, Shin Malphur, the man with the golden gun. Though his reasons are too complex to get into at this moment, Shin wished for us to learn more powers than merely the light. He wished for us to evolve and to become a stronger weapon against the darkness. After the main events of the Forsaken campaign, we would next see a new tale emerge. A mysterious annex in the tower opened up, and in this annex a new vendor known as Ada 1 could be found. She represented the final remnant of the prestigious Black Armory, a weapons foundry that had been created in the Golden Age and could create some of the finest weapons possible. Ada 1, however, did not trust the Guardians at first, given that during the Dark Age, when she had been resurrected as an Exo, there were many ensuing warlords, all rogue risen, that had made an effort to kill her and other members of the Black Armory team. Ada 1, to this day, is the only survivor. After recapturing forges for her and eventually decrypting the secrets of the Black Armory, Ada would begin to trust us. And with that, we helped her hunt down and reactivate a series of devices across the system with which we could forge new implements of war. In this process, we discovered a fallen crime syndicate known as the Kel's Scourge, led by a fallen known as Civix, lost to none. The gang was intent on supplying weapons with Black Armory technology in them to any who would be willing to buy, Civix's only priority seemingly being to create anarchy across the system. At a certain point, Civix and the Kel's Scourge grew bold enough to even make a daring attack on the city. Not a full-fledged attack like Twilight Gap or Six Fronts, but merely a break-in, where they weakened the defenses around a Black Armory vault in the old ruined Botza district, a vault known as Vault Ebisu. Inside lay not only precious Black Armory wares, but also the Black Armory's history. It was crucial that we recovered this. Using Black Armory and Fallen technology, however, the Kel's Scourge had constructed a giant Fallen mechanism known as Insurrection Prime, which we destroyed and defeated, saving the Black Armory's vault from being completely plundered. Finally, in the process of reforging a powerful weapon once used by Ada, we would kill Civix and end the threat of the Kel's Scourge for good. This would allow us to return the weapon to Ada, and we would discover that she had used it to defend the Black Armory's founder and her former mother, Henrietta Mehran. It turned out that the Black Armory papers, another relic salvaged from Vault Ebisu and the various Fallen that we killed them off, had indeed also contained notes about Ada 1 and her creation. Henrietta documented all of her thoughts in them, and when we recovered all the pages, Ada thanked us, maybe now at last trusting us. Then, we recovered one final piece of technology, an obsidian accelerator, unlocking the final purpose of Ada 1. She was a mobile forge, able to imbue the phase technology of the Black Armory at will. She had been a combination of both the exotechnology of Clovis Bray and the miraculous forges that the Black Armory had endeavored to create. She was the brainchild, not of Henrietta Meran, but of her peer, Helga, who had always believed that despite Clovis Bray's somewhat more dubious nature, they were valuable and that their technology could be made to serve the armory. It turned out that she was indeed correct. Later in the year, we were invited by the Drifter to join in his games once again, and to take part in a new scheme that he called Gambit Prime. In the process of this, we also discovered that the Drifter had been working with a mysterious organization called the Nine. The organization reached out to the Drifter through their agents, namely the Emissary, who was once a guardian of the city and a retainer to the Awoken Queen known as Orin, now titled Orin the Lost after she went out to pursue the Nine after the death of her lover. In a series of invitations to understand, we were shown the truth of the relationship between the Drifter and Orin, as well as a few key moments and key truths and ponderings of the Nine regarding various other characters within Destiny's universe. The ninth and final of these invitations gave us a vision of the Drifter being told to keep Gambit running, as well as the attached activity of Reckoning. The Nine had helped him set this up, and the Nine had warned him that soon darkness would be coming, and that they would need to make ready for it. The Drifter also at this point asked us whether we were loyal to him or the Vanguard, and offered us a choice. Many Guardians were given these choices, and whether you were loyal to the Vanguard or not was entirely a point to be answered by yourself. But regardless, we would be able to partake in Gambit and its games no matter what we did. Finally, at the start of the summer, we were contracted again by the joyful Emperor Callus, who invited us once more to grow fat from strength. Having seen us perform incredible feats across the system, it was Callus's belief that he could recruit us to become a Shadow. Shadows, in the context of Callus's cabal, were powerful agents, assassins, generals, and leaders of Callus's forces. They always represented the apex of their species in every possible facet of their specialization. Shadows were given a certain amount of autonomy, but they were bound to Callus's will, and Callus had made it clear to us by this point that his goal was not to serve the light. Callus would relay to us a series of dubious histories known as the Chronicon that were likely doctored to approve a more loyalist-friendly version of history. Regardless, the encounter in question that is of most incredible note is that at one point during his exile, Callus supposedly encountered the darkness, and saw it to be the coming end of the universe. He then believed it to be his divine right and his divine purpose to usher in the Age of Darkness and prepare us all for the end of the world by allowing conflict to subside and to allow as many as possible to live in harmony for the remainder of the universe's time. This was the purpose for which Callus wished to recruit us, and Callus would lead us into the menagerie where he had placed many challenges for us to prove our worth once again. And of course, as his moniker of grow fat from strength would suggest, with these challenges came great rewards. After this, Callus asked us for one more favor in dispatching a Hive champion that had betrayed him. In his time of exile, Callus had retaken an Athenaeum world, an archival world of the Cabal. Within it, he found a hive crown, which showed the potential to control the hive swarms. Not wishing to wear the crown personally, lest it should corrupt him, Callus instead used the incredible gene manipulation technology of the Cabal to spawn a mighty warrior named Galran, titanic in his size. Galran had been edited to hold a greater strength of mind than the typical Cabal soldier. This was still pointless though, as Galran was corrupted within minutes of the Crown of Sorrow being placed upon his head. Callus therefore asked us to revoke this power and to bring him to heel, killing him, which we did in no short order. With Galran's fall came another period of uneasy calm, but as the year, filled with hard moments and grueling tests, came to a close for us, an entirely different chapter was about to begin. It was suddenly becoming clear that at this time, new lights were starting to fast approach. Saviors of humanity had always been rising, but for some unknown reason, there was a mass of new guardians, new lights that were joining our ranks, strengthening the many friendships created and many new fire teams forming along the way. The Guardian Orders as a whole began to grow stronger as their numbers swelled, with Guardians returning from old frontiers and new lights joining our ranks. But this was all for the better, because on the horizon, the darkness was closer than we thought. Once again, it was brewing, and just as it had done before, it began to creep towards us. As it had done before at the Battle of Mare Ibrium during the events of Crota's Rise, the moon would play host to nightmares. No. And these nightmares would find Eris Morn.
Oh! No! But she was the one that escaped, and now it's gonna drag her back down in there?
What a way to end that episode.
6 went down, only 1 came out. I don't know if you heard this story before.
She loves to tell it if you haven't, so you definitely can learn it.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. I'm also curious about the Drifter and like his relationship of with what's her face.
We were shown the truth of the relationship between the Drifter and Orin.
I'm curious how the Drifter and Orin is gonna influence the story going forward. Because Orin and like her horse looked badass. Looked very cool. So I want to know more about that.
Beautiful imagery there.
Yeah, very, very much so. Oh man, the ending for this, like going into Shadowkeep now, was a great setup.
Yeah, a wonderful setup. I also, and this is something that Destiny does particularly well, because I have noticed it in other iterations of us going on a Destiny journey, but the use of language, the uneasy calm.
Yeah, My Name is Bife is really good with that.
Like that stuck out so much for me as I watched this. And I was just thinking like, God, what a great, I mean, it's so few words to perfectly describe this time in Destiny and the feeling of that. Bife talked about the sort of like rising darkness during that time. I thought like, yeah, that kind of tracks with right now. Not just in the US, but like globally right now, it kind of feels like there is a rising negativity, a rising darkness for whatever reason. We're just in that period in time. And I thought his use of language and description in this was so fantastic, because it made me as the audience, one, feel it, but then two, also reflect on my own world and find it within reality around me. And I was like, that is very well done when you as a content creator can tell a story in that way and make me feel it in my own world.
Yeah, and that's what Bife and Vadi do so well.
Yes.
As far as like the lore videos that we check out from them. It's not just like telling the lore and explaining the lore and like recapping it, but it's like choosing your words carefully and really like telling the story in a way that's like it evokes like a visceral reaction from you. Like it pulls it out to you, it sucks you in, it draws you into the story more.
Because it didn't make me only feel it like in my own world, but I was also thinking of like, God, this is like, the two towers in Lord of the Rings, like that rising darkness, and like our heroes are down and out. Like it made me also think of other
History.
Yes, history. It made me think of other great literary examples and like that feeling, that other pieces of literature or entertainment where I've had that visceral response because the way that they spoke about it so strongly evoked it that I was able to immediately like put a finger on it in other examples in my own world, in news and TV and reality, but also in fantasy and literature and other things that I hold up as like, yes, Lord of the Rings is a great example of entertainment and literature, and like he captured it in so few words, and I immediately thought of it because both artistic expressions have done such a good job making me feel it.
So Eris Morn has been a character that like I've had mixed feelings on. What was that?
I don't know.
Working on that.
No, Siri, we're not talking to you.
So for those of you who don't know, Bethany named her Siri Eris Morn. So whenever we say Eris Morn, like Siri pops up and I'm just like, God, Siri, shut up. And I don't know what that says about me that I sound like Bethany. That was her phone that went out. Okay. And this is why I don't do like lore videos and recap videos, is because I don't have that rich, deep voice like Vadi and My Name is Bife has.
Or British accent. People
That
with
too,
British
yeah.
accents can do it.
That too. I mean, yeah, the British accent for sure helps. Anywho. I don't even know what I was fucking talking about.
Eris Morn.
Eris
We're on
Morn.
Eris Morn.
Yeah, we're on Eris Morn thing. So she's a character that I'm not gonna say that like I love. She's not like, Cade Six or Ikora or anything. I mean, she's a character that I was like, again, I was like, man, how many times are you gonna talk about like you got PTSD from like 6 went down and only you came out.
Yeah, we did rip on her a little bit.
Ripped on her a little bit, but like that lead up to her, I was like, okay, but it's a character I know. And it's not a character that like I dislike or something like that. It's a character that like I'm invested in, and because she talked about that so much, the thought of her like being dragged back there and down there is what was so impactful.
Yeah.
Because you know how much that traumatized her. And so it's like, oh no, this is gonna happen again. That's like, I don't know, like saying that Theon Greyjoy is gonna go back down to like Ramsay Bolton's basement. It's something where, okay, that was so traumatic that it got me. It's weird to say it got me pumped up to see the next to see Shadowkeep, but it hooked me.
And I will say, like, for those who haven't seen our other reactions, we did rip on her a little bit for constantly saying it because our introduction to her was that she constantly said it. We're like, okay, we get it. But then we actually went into a lore video where it really talked about that story from someone else's perspective.
True.
And like what really happened.
Yeah.
And then we're like, God.
All right. Well, we were kind of mean.
We're
Yeah.
assholes. Like that was.
Which I've known that about myself for a while now.
But we're like, that was horrific and intense and terrifying. And like, yeah, reasons for her saying that over and over again. They might have ripped on her a little bit more because she kept saying it again and again and again. But to your point, the thought of her having to go back to like that, essentially that horrific thing that happened to her became the thing that defined her because it became this thing that she kept talking about, and it had such an impact on her psyche, her emotion, her mental health, that the thought of her going back, getting dragged in, that the history repeating itself, it evokes for us, the audience, of visceral, like I'm pumped up because I want her to be like, hell no, I won't go. Like, fuck you. But I'm also like cringing at the idea of it, like she could get like that's. So they left us in a very like kind of knife's edge moment, which is great storytelling on their part. Because of course now we're like, wait, shit, what happens? Like we need to know. But yeah, they do a good job with this because it does evoke real, honest, emotional responses from the audience.
Yep. It's just a good job of establishing your characters, even characters that maybe might not be like as beloved. Like, I mean, I'm sure in the community each might be like extremely loved, but just like from us, like for a character that we weren't super invested in, and really, really adored, but the character had such a specific point of view and had such a rich backstory that when something specific like this happens to her, and like I don't know exactly. I mean, we just kind of left off with this teaser.
Yeah.
We don't know if she's getting sucked back into this or anything like that. But she's been so well defined that it's able to elicit a strong emotion from us, even though we weren't like a character that like we actually absolutely adore. Because like it's easy to get you to care about like all of a sudden. Like when they tease at the end of an episode, something's gonna happen to the character you love. The next episode, you're just like, oh, get this reaction.
Yeah.
But for a character maybe that you aren't as invested in, to still have that reaction and get you to like to feel something, is just a mark of great writing.
It's great writing. It's also great voice acting. It's great everything about this character. Like I remember. In taking acting classes, and this lesson can be lifted beyond just acting class. It can go to writing. It can go to, a variety of things. But creating a character, not all your characters have to be loved or hated. They don't all have to have your audience relate to them necessarily. But if you have specificity and a clear point of view that people will understand, then they can be impactful, even if they aren't the hero, the villain, the love interest, like all of those archetypes. Like they don't have to be those things to make a significant impression on your audience and really drive your story along.
Impactful. That's what I was looking for. Let us know what you thought about this down below in the comments, and we're going to react to Shadowkeep here on the channel, obviously, and we're going to continue our Destiny 2 journey. Do not worry about that. Eventually, we'll catch up to where everyone else is, and who knows, maybe we even play Destiny on the channel, But a lot of these things we can't... which is crazy about Destiny, you can't play them. Like, new players can't play old content or whatever. So, like, I mean, they just, yeah. So, we're going through it all. But if you want all of our Destiny reactions, check out the description of this video. We have a playlist there for you. We also have a link to Patreon.
Yep.
Get early ad-free access. And when we do our long reactions for that, we usually do it, like, in bits. And we release it all on Patreon weekly. And then here on YouTube, we do it, like, all in one big one.
Yep.
Thanks so much for checking out our reaction for Destiny 2. I guess... recap for seasons 5 through 7, but just keep in mind
that our reaction is definitely not definitive.